Persona is a game franchise that has existed for many years. And throughout those years, Persona has had some incredible games in its library. I mean, it combines an action-packed JRPG adventure with a dating simulator, so you know it's a great series. But the most well-known Persona game by far is Persona 5. I mean, Persona 5 has sold over 10 million copies worldwide and is currently the longest Persona game ever with over 100 plus hours of gameplay. And the fact that this game came out nearly 10 years ago and is still this popular is pretty insane. So because of that, Persona 5 is bound to have some spin-off titles. Oh god, where do I even begin? Persona 5 went from being a game that people couldn't get enough of, to nowadays where no one wants to see any more Persona 5 games. Even I just straight up groan every time I see anything that has to do with the Phantom Thieves nowadays. So today, I'll be talking about every Persona 5 game in depth. I'll also be talking about what each game did for the Persona series and fanbase as a whole. So with that, let's not waste any more time and delve right in. Persona 5 is the game that started it all. Persona 5 launched in September of 2016, exclusive to Japan, and was released to the West in 2017. Persona 5 overall was an overwhelming success, at least for a Persona game at the time. Persona 5 was the first Persona game to have modern graphics, because it launched on the PlayStation 3 instead of the Vita. Persona 5 arguably has the best gameplay out of every Persona game, with you going inside people's palaces to steal their distorted desires to change their hearts. Persona 5 also has an incredible cast of characters. Sure, some are better than others, but still. Oh, and can't forget about the soundtrack. Dude, the soundtrack slaps so hard. But anyways, Persona 5 is still the most sold Persona game, even 9 years later. I mean, Persona 5 was even a contender for Game of the Year in 2017, along with Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and Fortnite. I mean, Persona 5 was such a drastic change from the older game to the point where the previous game, Persona 4, already felt inferior. But after Atlus saw the success of Persona 5, they wanted more, which brings us to the next game, which is Okay, I know this transition segment was a lot lower effort than the last one, but that's just because I have no feelings for this game whatsoever. But anyways, Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight is widely regarded as the worst Persona game ever. So what do you do in Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, you ask? You dance, obviously, with a few pieces of dialogue here and there. These are called social events. I mean, they're cool, I guess. Nowadays, people say Persona 5 Dancing is one of the worst Persona games ever, due to having mostly mediocre remixes and very little content. Now, I personally haven't played any of the dancing games, and I probably don't need to, due to how little they have. But did Persona 5 Dancing do anything right? I mean, the social events are cool. I like the opening song, and So yeah, people were really disappointed for P5 Dancing. That's why it's one of the most hated Persona games to this day. But yeah, let's move on to the next Persona 5 entry in the series. Persona Q2 is a sequel to the first Q game, but playing the first Q game isn't mandatory to enjoy this game. Persona Q2 serves as a crossover game for the Persona 3, 4, and 5 cast, which on paper sounds like it's an awesome game, but there are a few things that held this game back. This game wasn't too popular when it came out in 2018 because it came out on the Nintendo 3DS, which was a year after the Switch released. And what truly held this game back for me personally is the lack of English voice acting. This game revolved around the Phantom Thieves getting trapped in the movie theater. We also meet Seize and the investigation team from Persona 3 and 4. But the main focus of this game is to help the new character, Hikari, also escape from the theater. Now, I do recommend giving this game a try, but since it came out right at the end of the 3DS era, not many people knew about it. Which is a shame because this game is extremely underrated and fun. But guys, the Persona 5 milking really started in 2020 with Persona 5 Royal is an enhanced version of Persona 5, which added all new content including the third semester and new characters, like Kasumi. Now, despite this being the fourth Persona 5 game in a row, fans still loved it. I mean, Royal of course added Best Girl Kasumi and gave the greatest Persona character in history, Goro Akechi, more time as a playable party member. And he also got a new confidant that's so much better than the one in P5. Now, I wasn't really there during the Persona 5 Royal hype because I wasn't into Persona at the time, but I do know that people love this game because of when it came out. Now, if you know anything about Persona 5 Royal, you'll know that it came out during the pandemic. And during the pandemic, people weren't able to go outside, which meant they couldn't be social with other people. Persona 5 Royal felt like the perfect game to play during the pandemic because it's like 50% life simulator. And the third semester especially hit a lot of people, myself included. Maruki is probably the greatest villain in Persona history, which is saying something because I already loved Yaldabaoth. Maruki's goal to create an ideal world where everyone's happy makes us wonder if we should side with him or not. And especially during the pandemic when the world was probably the least ideal it could have been. So yeah, this game had mostly positive reviews, but if you thought we were done with Persona 5, you've never been more wrong in your life. The following year in 2021, we got Persona 5 Strikers, a direct sequel to Persona 5. Not Royal, just base Persona 5. So all you Akechi and Kasumi fans like me, sorry, but you're out of luck. But at least Strikers introduced 2 new Phantom Thief members, Sophia and Zenkichi. Now, I wouldn't say I like the new characters as much as the original Phantom Thieves. Something I gotta say is that they absolutely went crazy with Zenkichi's awakening, making it one of my favorite scenes in the game.
We will see it done. Fine. Seal the contract. For real?
So yeah, just this scene alone sold Zenkichi's addition to the Phantom Thieves for me. Now, I haven't finished Strikers, so I can't exactly comment on the final boss. What I can talk about are the jails. Jails are basically the equivalent of palaces, but for an entire city. Notably, the biggest change to Strikers is the gameplay. This is an action RPG with Dynasty Warriors style gameplay. It's essentially Dynasty Warriors, but with a Persona coat of paint. At this point, fans were starting to get tired of Persona 5 games, but that hadn't reached its climax yet. Even though this game is a spin-off game, due to it having different combat and no social links, many fans still consider it a mainline game, mostly because it's not a visual novel and doesn't use chibi artwork. But honestly, I still consider it a spin-off. Many people say Strikers would have been the perfect send-off for the Phantom Thieves. I mean, their adventure felt complete. They had already gone through so much. 5 games, a very mediocre anime, and a manga series that I totally forgot existed. There was nothing else to do. It was time to say goodbye. Wait, the video's not over. Oh god, where do I even begin? Persona 5 Tactica was a controversial game when it came out, and 2 years later, it still kinda is. Not that it did anything wrong, it's just that it's another freaking Persona 5 game! And the fact that it was marketed with Persona 3 Reload, a remake that fans wanted for many years. Hell, Reload was even the game that changed my life. After Tactica released, fans were not happy at all. I mean, this was our 6th Persona 5 game in a row. At this point, fans were tired of the Phantom Thieves, because they were literally everywhere at this point. Sonic Forces has the Joker costume. Joker made it into Smash Bros, which was actually incredible, but still. Tokyo Mirage had a Phantom Thief crossover. The Sword Art Online mobile game had a Phantom Thief crossover. Same with Astrobots, but that also has Persona 3 and 4 characters, so it's not all bad. Hell, we even have a Persona 5 airplane now. We even got Joker and Sonic Racing cross worlds now. So yeah, that's why Tactica may have been a little controversial at launch. The gameplay is basically Persona 5 if it was a tactical RPG. It did introduce 2 new characters though, Arena and Toshiro. Now, I didn't really play this game much because I'm not a big fan of the gameplay. Especially now because of how much Atlas has been shoving Persona 5 down our throats. Now, you'd think this is where the story ends, right? Nope, we still got one more game to talk about. Now, I was debating even including this one because it's not just Persona 5, but it has Persona 5 in the title, which is why I included it. Persona 5 The Phantom X is the latest Persona game currently. Now, unlike the previous games, this one is a gacha game. Now, originally, I wasn't really interested in this game, but when I heard it got localized, I decided to give it a shot. And to be honest, I didn't like it. I literally played this game for 3 hours on launch day and haven't touched the game since. But the community seems to really like this game. Like, I've seen the whole meme about the Subway Slammer boss. I think the complaining about Persona 5 peaked during Tactica's release, because I haven't been seeing it as much for this game. I do think Atlas needs to let go of Persona 5 already, but with Persona 4 Revival on the horizon and Persona 6 hopefully being in development, I think this game might be Persona 5's swan song. Anyways, this game has an entirely new cast of characters, with the main character being Wonder. This game is set in an alternate universe where all the previous events from the previous Persona games didn't happen. Now, like I said, I haven't really played much of this game, so I don't really have an opinion on it. But like I said, I do think Persona 5 is on its way out. But hey, we shall see. So in conclusion, this is why Persona 5 has had one of the biggest downfalls within the past 9 years. Damn it, how are these games that old? If you stuck around for this long, I really appreciate you. And if you could like the video and subscribe to my channel, that would be greatly appreciated. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.